Welcome back to Tang Time, where I teach you how to lower your score without having to work on your golf swing. On today's agenda, I'm going to teach you how to hit out of a divot. Hitting your ball into a divot is a stroke of bad luck, especially if you crush a driver in the middle of the fairway. How should you feel when you see your ball in a divot in the middle of the fairway? Be super upset because you did everything right and you still ended up in a divot. Wrong! You should just brush it off. Unfortunately, in the golf rules, you do have to play the ball as it lies. It's just a little bit of bad luck. You found yourself in a divot in the middle of the fairway. But don't get discouraged. We can still get you right back into play. Hitting into a divot isn't just a one shot fits all. What if the divot's really deep? What if the divot's really shallow? What if your ball's in the back of the divot? What if your ball's in the front of the divot? I'm going to show you how to assess the lie and figure out what kind of shot you need to hit. So let's get you good at golf. I found myself in this divot. If you can see, it's pretty deep. And if you can see the green over there, whoever hit this was hitting over there. And so my ball is not down the line of the divot, which is going to make this really difficult. The club is essentially going to hit and could potentially follow the path of this divot and open your club face wide open and shoot your ball to the right. This is also a hole where I have to carry some hazard. When I find myself in this situation, all we want to do is advance the ball and get it back into play. It's sitting pretty deep inside this divot, so I'm going to take something a little higher lofted just to get it to go up, especially since I don't want the club to follow the track of this divot. I want to swing a little straighter. I'm not trying to hit down and create a bigger divot. I want to maintain that square club face through impact. I only need to hit this about 100 yards. I've got my 9-iron here. This is a pretty deep divot. The only thought you should have through this shot is to have a square club face. So what's our goal again when we're trying to hit this shot? Just get the ball back in play. That's correct. We just want to advance it and get it back into play. I'm going to set up as if this were a low trajectory shot. If you haven't seen my video on how to hit a low trajectory shot, go check it out. The reason for this is I want to catch ball first. This shot is going to be stubby. You're essentially hitting a wall right after the ball. So I'm going to hit a controlled, punchy 9-iron. So let's give it a swing. And it's that easy. Now I found myself in this kind of divot. I'm at the back of a pretty shallow divot, and it's going in the direction of my target. It's going to be your simplest divot shot. We're going to look at this shot as if it wasn't in a divot at all. We're going to play this as a standard shot. I've got 207 yards to this pin, into the wind. And I feel comfortable hitting up to a 7 wood. This is going to come up a little short of the green. It's going to carry the hazard with no problems. I'm going to play this shot as if it were in the fairway, but I'm going to expect the ball to come out a smidge lower. The ball is sitting just a little lower than the fairway around it. And so I don't think the ball is going to come out quite as high, but I do think I'm going to get pretty solid contact. So let's give it a swing. I'm picking a nice conservative line. If you haven't seen my video on alignment, go check it out. And we're going to commit to the shot. I made pretty decent contact, but the ball did come out a little bit lower and I'm just short of the green. So in theory, if everyone took care of the golf course, we wouldn't have to ever hit out of a divot because it would be fixed. So when you're playing golf, make sure to replace your divot after your shot. When we're playing in Bermuda grass, you can't replace the divot because it won't reattach and regrow. It'll just die, and nobody wants to hit off a magic carpet. When you're playing up north, the bent grass will reattach itself, and that's why you want to grab your divot and put it back into its rightful place. So in Florida, we replace the divot by filling it with sand. Let's say my ball ends up on a divot that was just filled. Now I'm sitting on top of a little pile of sand. We're going to hit this shot as if it were a fairway bunker. If you haven't seen my video on fairway bunkers, go check it out. We're going to hit it pretty clean. We're just going to nip it off of the sand. We don't want to take a bigger divot. I have 136 yards to this pin and I have to hit over water. I want to be pretty conservative. I want to hit the center to the back of the green. I would normally hit a 9-iron for 136 yards, but I want to hit about 150 yards. 10 yards because I'm gonna hit the ball a little bit thin and catch it low on the club face, and an additional 5 yards to make sure I give myself a buffer in case I mishit it. So this 136-yard shot, I'm gonna pick my 150-yard club. So I've got my 7-iron here, and my goal is to just hit a very clean shot. I'm gonna pick a conservative line right of this pin. And I drew it up perfectly. We're safely on the green with a look at birdie. Comment below what kind of weird lies you found your golf ball in. So now I found my ball in the middle of a pretty skinny divot. The ball is sitting lower than the fairway, and the golf club is going to be propped up because of how narrow this divot is. When I see a shot like this, I'm gonna assume that my club is only gonna hit the top half of the golf ball, meaning it's gonna come out thin, weak, and low. But I've assessed this lie and I'm going to play for that shot. This is my second shot on a par 5, meaning I just have to advance the ball forward, and it's okay if it runs there. Because this is already gonna be a low shot, it's okay if I hit a 5-iron or a 4-iron. So I'm gonna try to advance it as far as I can with a low lofted club. So I have a 5-iron in my hands. I already know the shot is gonna be thin, weak, and low, so I'm going to play for it. I'm not gonna be upset when the ball does exactly what I think it's gonna do. I'm also on a little bit of a downhill lie, and their trouble is all right. So I'm gonna make sure I pick a conservative line on the left side of this fairway. My goal is to maintain a square club face, and I know I'm gonna hit it thin. The divot is going down the line of the fairway, so I don't have to be too worried about it flipping my club face open or closed. It came out thin, weak, and low. But I knew it was gonna happen, and so I set myself for a great next shot. When you hit into a divot, you didn't do anything wrong. You could have hit the best shot and still found yourself in a terrible lie. So the best thing you can do is remember that you're hitting great shots. You just got a little unlucky. Don't let the bad lie ruin the next few holes because you're so frustrated. This is just the game of golf, and everyone has to deal with divots. Sometimes you hit it into the trees and you find a perfect slot or a perfect opening. Other times you hit it in the middle of the fairway and you're in a divot. When you see your ball in a divot, don't let it intimidate you. All you need to do is assess the lie and figure out how much of the ball you can actually make contact with your club. And from there, you can figure out how conservative or how aggressive you can be with your line and your yardage. To avoid those divot shots, you need to put some good karma into your golf, and that means replacing your divots and a couple other divots around you. Leave the course in better condition than you found it. And if you aren't replacing your divots, you probably deserve to hit out of a divot on every fairway. So please like, subscribe, and stay tuned for my next episode.